While the Democratic Alliance is asking the public protector to release a report into a Bosasa donation to President Cyril Ramaphosa, the company's CEO, Gavin Watson, contributed 500,000 rand to Ramaphosa's 2017 campaign to become ANC president. Now, the DA says Bosasa should release the report in the next 48 hours. The party's chief whip, John Steenhuisen, joins us now for this discussion. John, 48 hours given to the public protector. Why is that?
Well, it's 48 hours on top of 7 months. The original complaint was lodged with the public protector in November. To our mind, this is a very simple, open and shut matter. Did the president receive the donation? If so, under what circumstances did he receive them? And did he mislead Parliament when he answered Mr. Maimani's question in the House? This is not a complex investigation. It surely is a simple investigation. But what really galls in this particular matter is that it appears that a weekend newspaper has got a copy of the report, but Mr. Maimani, who is the complainant in this matter, is yet to have sight of it. Obviously, this is not acceptable, and we would like the public protector to release a report so that we can start to hold the president accountable if he is required to do so, or remove the cloud that's hanging over his head over this Bosasa matter.
But then on the other side of it, I mean, the Public Protector's Office says that the actual report in itself is just simply not complete. So if you are calling for the release within 48 hours, surely then you're anticipating a half-baked report.
Well, the Executive Ethics Act, which the complaint was laid under, actually prescribes a 30-day period for the Public Protector to provide her report. That we say we're now sitting in month 7, and we've still not seen the report. Now, I don't understand why a weekend newspaper can have copies of the report if it's half-baked, and yet the complainant in the matter doesn't. There clearly is something wrong here, and the longer this type of cat-and-mouse game continues, I think the longer it starts to beg questions of the Public Protector's Office and the integrity of the report.
I mean, we're speaking about this actual newspaper, but of course the report, as we know, was leaked when it comes to on behalf of the newspaper in itself. And I mean, we did actually ask the Public Protector's Office for commentary on the matter that you're raising, and they're speaking about how, and they've actually come out to say, listen, the report in itself is not complete, and if you actually have to release this report, then you have to submit another report when the investigation has been completed. Doesn't that then bring your case actually to a tedious process if you have to have one report that is not, well, complete on behalf of the Public Protector, and then you have to release another one upon completion of investigation? Or do you think there's something to hide?
Well, given what seems to be a conclusion of the report, it obviously means that the report is near at the very final stage. Given the fact that it's 7 months, given the fact that the 30-day period for reporting is way past, I don't think there's any reason why the Public Protector should delay any longer. If she sent this type of correspondence that's been leaked, this type of report that's been leaked, it means that the report must be near its final stage. And we're calling on her in the public interest and in the interest of the complainant, as well as the person against whom the complaint has been laid, to now make sure that this matter is brought to fruition and the matter ripens, because the longer it drags on like this, the longer these leaks, whether they're strategic leaks or otherwise, continue, the longer, I think, and the more chance there is of contaminating the process and bringing into question the investigation itself.
Do you think that the Public Protector is playing politics at this stage?
Well, it's hard to say, and it depends where the leak has emanated from. If the leak has emanated as a strategic leak from within the Public Protector's Office, that would be a clear sign that politics are at play. If it's been leaked by someone in the presidency, which I doubt, given the fact that it's very clear the report, as we've seen leaked, is not very complimentary and makes adverse findings, then obviously one has to question the motives there. But either way, the longer the leaked report remains out in the open without the actual findings being made public, I think it does damage, as I said earlier, to both the complainant in the matter, Mr. Maimani, as well as the person against whom the complaint has been lodged, President Cyril Ramaphosa.
And then on the other side of it, I mean, when we're looking at this, the contents of this preliminary report, I'm talking about the leaked report now, it does say that it found that the president had failed to declare the donation and violated the Constitution and the Executive Code of Ethics. Now, should you find that the report that you're requesting within 48 hours has got something in wording that is completely or contravenes or is not even as the leaked report that we have now, will you then be taking that up with the public protector?
Well, obviously, but I mean, we can't move until the final report is tabled and is provided. And that's why I think, given the fact that there's been a leak, given the fact that you now have this information in the public domain, I think it's in the interest of all parties concerned that the report is expedited and made available publicly so that we can put to bed the matter. If these are leaks that are false, then the report being tabled will dispel those. If, in fact, the leaked report is borne out by the final report, then it obviously has to ask, well, where's the leak come from and what was the reason for the leak and who was behind it. But either way, this matter's got to be brought to some finality. We can't have a matter dragging on for over 7 months, which has such grave implications for Parliament as well as for the President himself. So the sooner this matter is brought to fruition, the better it is for all parties concerned.
I must ask you, John, do you trust the findings of the Public Protector and from the Public Protector's office? And that's just in light of the recent criticism as well as the spotlight that she's been under of late.
Well, I think each report's got to be judged on its merits, and I think that that's why it's very important that the final report is tabled. It'll give the President an opportunity to approach the courts to have it set aside if he believes it is unfair. If the report is accurate and there's no challenge to it, then obviously the remedial action flowing from it will have to be implemented. But it's very difficult to say whether, in fact, we can trust the report or not until we've seen it. That being said, as you would know, it's a matter of public record. We have some grave concerns about the way in which the Public Protector has handled a variety of other matters that have been set aside by the courts. But that, to our mind, is a separate process, and it's why we've initiated a parliamentary process for Parliament to inquire into the fitness of the Public Protector to hold office. But I would say the old adage that a broken clock is right twice a day could well apply in this matter.
And if you should find that the Public Protector does not heed to your call of actually releasing the report within 48 hours, let's say her office decides, you know what, this report is not complete, we're not going with what the Democratic Alliance has said, though it is 7 months late, what happens now?
Well, obviously, we'll have to exhaust all our efforts in Parliament to try and add this to the particular complaints that we've laid. We'll obviously have to look at other avenues to pursue to compel the Public Protector to provide this report. But what you can't have is these very serious allegations made against the first citizen of the country. You can't have a situation where Parliament's ability to hold the executive to account is now hanging in the balance. And the longer these questions remain unresolved, I think the more damaging it is for all parties and all institutions involved.
Well, John, we're going to leave our conversation there for this evening, but thanks a lot for joining us on Newsnight, sharing some light in terms of those calls made to the Office of the Public Protector to release the report on Cyril Ramaphosa's donation of 500,000 rand within 48 hours. Speaking to DA Chief Whip John Steenhuisen, Public Protector Bosasa Mkhwebane was invited, though, to join us on Newsnight this evening. She did decline and sent us the following comment, however. This is what she says. The Public Protector does not take kindly to Mr. Maimane giving her ultimatums, threatening her with legal action, accusing her of involvement in politics without basis, and coercing her to jump to his tune. The Public Protector is, in terms of the Constitution, an independent and impartial institution that must execute its powers and perform its functions without fear, favor or prejudice. The Constitution further states that no person or organ of the state may interfere with the functioning of the Public Protector. Undue pressure from the likes of Mr. Maimane, who previously insisted that the Public Protector must issue the report concerned before the recent elections, is at odds with the Constitution. As it was previously indicated to Mr. Maimane, the investigation in question is ongoing, and the Public Protector asks for space to do her work without interference. In addition, the Public Protector is aware that in terms of the Executive Members Ethics Act, she was to have submitted a report on her investigation within 30 days of receipt from Mr. Maimane's complaint. However, she is also aware that in terms of the same law, if she reports at the end of the 30 days that the investigation has not yet been completed, as is the case now, she ought to submit another report when the investigation has been completed.